Chapter 4, Books and Rainy Days. Once they woke, the twins found themselves alone inside the house. It wasn't as if they were completely alone, though. Both of them could hear voices gathered outside, moving about with casual chatter, along with the occasional splashing noise. Dream and Nightmare attempted to use the wash rags with the cold water to keep cleaning themselves, but getting their hands around each of their bone joints wasn't working too well. Moments later, the tall Asgore came stomping in. "Well now, boys, looks like you two got the right idea, but you both need a proper bath. We've prepared one outside. Come on, come see." He waved before ducking back through the doorway curtain. Glancing at each other, Dream shrugged and got up to follow. Nightmare followed close behind. Well, if there was a way to do this easier. Outside, a tub made of wooden planks had been prepared. Toriel was there with soap and washcloths as some of the villagers helped by warming water over a fire and pouring it into the tub. "It's warm and ready for you. Here, I'll help you in," she said. Nightmare could see Dream already fully trusting these monsters as he let Toriel pick him up and put him in the water. "Whoa, it's hot! Is it too hot?" she asked. "No, I don't think so," Dream grinned as he played with the water in his hands. Begrudgingly, Nightmare would let Toriel pick him up too. It made him embarrassed being lifted off the ground. He remembered how the creature grabbed him and didn't want to be reminded of it. When his bones were submerged in the water, it sent a shiver up his spine from the sudden heat. It wasn't bad, just something he'd never felt before. "The hot water will loosen all the dirt, and here, this is soap. Move it around in the water and it will make bubbles. It will also help you get clean," said Toriel, handing them 2 yellow bars. Dream took to the instructions immediately, shaking the bar around in the water as fast as he could. Nightmare squinted, trying not to let his brother splash water in his sockets, choosing instead just to rub the bar in his hands. However, Nightmare felt eyes on him once more and looked around. They were outside, which meant he had a better look at the village. There was a series of small homes constructed of plaster walls, wood beams, and thatched roofs, just like Asgore and Toriel's. There were monsters of all sorts walking about doing laundry, preparing food, or making deliveries in carts. There wasn't much room that separated the houses. Each villager would pause to catch a glance at the skeleton boys. Nightmare sank in the tub. He didn't like that they were being watched. Dream didn't notice at all, seeing how big he could make his bubbles with the soap. After a while, Toriel handed them little tear-shaped tools. She showed them that the tools could suck up water and squirt it back out. It would help them flush the rest of the mud out of their joints. "You did a great job. Now you're all clean. We just need to get you dried up and dressed." Taking each of them out of the water, Nightmare felt the breeze far more chilly than he expected. Both of them shivered before Toriel threw a giant towel over each. "Now, I hope this will get you dry. Never had to dry out bones before," she chuckled. It was soft and warm. Nightmare was able to get himself dry, but he almost didn't want to take off the towel. But Toriel insisted as she grabbed their clothes, and he didn't want to cause any trouble. There were still villagers who were stopping the watch. Asgore stayed nearby. He sat at a small table, writing up a letter with quill and ink. Anytime he'd catch someone staring, he'd shoo them off with a glare or the wave of a hand. "Look at these! These clothes almost match your eyes," said Toriel as she helped Nightmare into a pair of trousers and a layered tunic. "And we have some shoes to protect your feet from sticks and rocks." Wearing the clothes felt like he was wrapped in a blanket he never had to crawl out of. He liked it, and it distracted him from the staring villagers, feeling the fabric against his bones. "There's another tunic, but it's a little big. You don't mind wearing a dress, do you, dear?" Toriel asked Dream. Dream blinked and smiled, an obvious expression that he didn't know what that was. Okay, this will be fine then," she said. The dress really wasn't much different from the tunic, other than being longer. "Oh, you two are so darling. If you two had parents, I'm sure they would have adored you." "What are parents?" Nightmare asked. "Oh, they're mother and father, usually. They're older people who are responsible for you. Usually," she tried to explain, helping Dream put on his shoes. "Are you our parents?" Dream asked. Asgore started coughing. A pink flush came to Toriel's face. "Oh, no, dear. Well, we're not really sure yet. We're still trying to figure out where you came from. I know you said you came from the tree, but something like that has never happened before. We're trying to figure out what is best for the both of you." Asgore stood, walking over to them. You see, boys, a long time ago there was a violent conflict between monster kind and humankind. Both races saw your tree as sacred to their beliefs, so we made a pact with the humans that we would share the tree, visiting it only on certain holy days. But now that the two of you exist, it complicates things. Humans? What are humans? Nightmare asked. They're not like us, dear, said Toriel, searching for the words. They're made of flesh like animals, but they have extremely powerful souls, much more powerful than monsters. It's a lot to explain. Indeed. But what you need to know is that in order for us to continue things peacefully, we need to speak to the humans to let them know you exist, Asgore sighed. There was something in his voice, anxiety, worry, a slight shift in his posture whenever he spoke about the humans. You're scared of them, aren't you? Said Nightmare, his eyelids focusing deep into Asgore's gaze. Yes. Yes, I am, little Nightmare. Humans are volatile. Even with our peace treaty, they deeply dislike monsters. We've never managed to build fruitful relations between our people. Their souls are full of fear, and that fear has always been a barrier to any trust. This didn't sound like the most stable situation. Asgore's unease hung over them like a gray cloud. Nightmare and Dream looked to each other before Toriel gently put a hand to their backs. Now, that's not for either of you to worry about. Asgore will take care of dealing with the humans. For now, you two are going to stay with us, and I'm going to introduce you to the villagers. How does that sound? Okay, said Dream, bouncing with excitement. Wait, stay with you? Nightmare tilted his brow. What about our tree? What about it, dear? Nightmare scanned the horizon, his eyes catching a tall cliff with the white falls to the north. The slightest hint of their tree's crown could be seen peeking over it. I don't feel right being away from it. But Nightmare, what if that creature attacks us again? Said Dream, holding his hands together. It was able to get to us so easily up there. Dream had a point. Although Nightmare didn't like it, they were safer here under Asgore and Toriel's protection. There can be many strange creatures at night, and dangerous ones too, said Toriel. We'll find a way for you to visit the tree again, I promise. Okay, Nightmare sighed, his shoulders sinking. It was all they could do for now. As Toriel stood, she offered a hand to each of them so that she could give a tour of the village. Sun shining directly above, it was noontime on a spring cool day. Toriel took much shorter strides as the little ones had tiny legs. Dream started skipping, excited about who they'd get to meet. Though he wasn't at risk of hurting Toriel, she gently corrected him that it wasn't nice to yank at someone's arm. Sorry, Toriel, he chirped with a little smile. At the first house, they'd been introduced to an old rabbit woman taking care of her grandbabies. The next was a strange woman with large teeth. In fact, Nightmare believed her face was only teeth. Each house they visited insisted on giving them gifts or mementos. Day-old cherry tarts, ribbons tied with little bells, fresh-baked croissants, a bag of marbles. Both twins were quickly filled with snacks and no room in their pockets to carry all the small toys. Toriel politely declined any more gifts for them. There were many children who lived in the village. Many seemed to be as big as the twins, some even bigger. A gang of children grew and followed them, looking behind corners of each house to spy on the skeletons. Toriel took notice and would have a small chuckle. It seems like you'll be making friends in no time. Making friends? Dream repeated before waving at the children. A little girl made of a gentle green flame waved back. At some point, Toriel got distracted, speaking to the blue bird woman who was stitching together a tapestry on her lap. Dream was also distracted, as the bird woman let him flip up the tapestry and look over the colorful patterns. Nightmare, however, noticed a group of teenagers watching them from across the street. They stood next to what appeared to be a blacksmith shop. Two white-furred dog monsters, and leaning against the wooden pole next to them, a blue fish girl with the reddest hair. It wasn't just her hair that made her so striking. She wore an eye patch like a pirate and played with a knife, as if she didn't already fit the part. Her yellow eye leered at Nightmare. What emotion that was, he wasn't quite sure, but he mirrored the expression back. She said something to her friends before sliding the knife into her belt and striding over, her gaze shifting to Toriel. Good afternoon, Your Highness, she gave an exaggerated bow. Still riding the high of your wedding from last week? Toriel smiled and gave a nod. Oh, of course, Undying. I'm sure you've heard of our guests. Undying put her hands on her hips. Skipping the honeymoon and straight into the kids, haven't you? Toriel blushed and her back straightened. Miss Undying, not in front of the little ones. What's a honeymoon? Is that candy? Said Dream. Sure is, little dude. Undying pointed at Dream. Toriel covered her snout in embarrassment. Though Nightmare wasn't sure what a honeymoon was, he was sure it wasn't candy. He wanted to say something, as he didn't like the idea of someone lying to him in Dream. The teenager took notice, locking eyes with him. You look like you're going to be a tough one, huh? What if I am? Nightmare said, his free hand curling into a fist. Heh, the village is always needing protection. The guards are the most respected among us, keeping out danger from the outside. You look like you got the makings of a soldier. But Nightmare only glared, his gaze piercing through her. Whatever it was she was implying, he simply didn't desire it. What's a soldier? Said Dream. Now, Undying, they're really much too young to be... Toriel started, but was interrupted by a loud, shrill scream. Undying! Get your butt inside, little miss! You got chores to do! Standing proudly in the doorway of the blacksmith shop was a muscular turtle, a huge hammer held over his shoulder and covered in black soot. Undying whipped around and groaned. Gerson! Dude, you ruined my first impression! I'm gonna ruin your allowance if you don't get to cleaning up the forge. A storm is coming, and if the rain cracks the furnace, you'll be paying for it. Gerson snapped back. Undying's dog companions laughed until she shot them a glare. She whipped around, giving one last look at Nightmare. Be seeing you, little punk! Undying, said Toriel, but the Frisch girl was already running inside, squeezing past the turtle monster. Just as Gerson said, the sky started to grow dark. The blacksmith waved to the Goat Queen. Better head back, your highness, along with your guests. I can feel it in my bones. It's going to be thunder and downpour. Oh, thank you, Gerson. We appreciate the warning. By the time they got back to Toriel's house, it began to sprinkle, clouds forming overhead. Monsters rushed through their task, ripping clothes off clotheslines, covering stalls of goods with leather tarps, and the like. Kids rushed back to their homes, or their parents called out to them from their doorways. Nightmare lifted his head as he heard a deep rumble in the sky. As they stepped through the threshold, there came a loud clack and a flash of light. Dream yelped, both of them clinging to each of Toriel's legs. Oh, that one was close. It's all right, dears, it's only thunder, she said, a gentle paw on each of their heads. As long as we stay inside, we'll be safe. That was really scary. Dream looked up with pleading eyes. I know, but the thunder and storm are only natural, just like the trees and the birds. Don't you two worry about it. How about you play with the toys you got and I'll start fixing up supper? That is, if there's still room in your bodies after all those sweets. The promise of another of Toriel's meals made Dream forget all his fear. Okay, Nightmare, come, let's play, he said, grabbing his brother's hand. The thunder outside rumbled softly after that first strike, accompanied by the pounding of rain above. As the house was warmed by the fire pit, it made the interior feel a bit stuffy, but not unbearable. Dream and Nightmare sat back in their blanketed nest, looking through the various trinkets the villagers had given them. At one point, Toriel was kneading dough when she saw Dream pop one of the marbles in his mouth. She gasped loudly, Dream, spit that out! Both brothers looked at her, stunned. She had never raised her voice before. Dream opened his mouth as the marble rolled out and hit the floor. I'm sorry. I thought it was candy. Toriel took a breath, grasping her chest. I'm sorry. I was afraid you'd hurt yourself. No, that's not candy, dear. Nightmare gave his brother a nervous grin, who blushed with embarrassment. Sorry. Eventually, Asgore would come in, shielded by a leather cloak over his head. Ah, dinner's cooking already. Of course. How was the meeting with the elders? Toriel asked. He hung his cloak on a hook by the door. Everyone is uncertain, as I was. Many thought we ought to keep the skeletons a secret, but we ultimately voted to send the letter to the humans. They should receive it by morning. Toriel smiled and nodded. I think that was the right choice. Ah, and how are our guests doing? Did you enjoy your tour of the village? Asgore said, looking to them. As they talked, Nightmare turned to stare at the tapestry of their tree once more. Yeah, everyone was super nice, and they gave us presents like candy and pastries and toys, said Dream, eagerly standing and gathering several trinkets in his hands. As Asgore sat down, Dream rushed to his side, rummaging through the little toys and explaining each one. Turning back to his brother, Nightmare wondered why Dream was like that. Why was he so eager for their attention, their approval? Maybe Dream did want to stay here and not return to the tree, their tree, where they were supposed to be. Asgore chuckled after Dream plopped himself in the Goatman's lap. And what about you, Nightmare? You're awfully quiet. Did you enjoy the village? It was okay. I guess people were nice, sorta, Nightmare answered in monotone. There was a girl named Undying. She said Nightmare looked like he could be... What was it she called you? Dream asked. A soldier. I don't know what that is, but I don't like the sound of it, especially if it's what she's wanting me to be. Miss Undying. Oh, don't mind her. She aspires to be captain of the guard one day, but don't let her pressure you. You two can decide whatever you'll become and no one else. Nightmare smiled at that. He realized he didn't like it when people were trying to define them, leaving that up to them he felt more freeing. He turned his head back towards the tapestry. Asgore, those are words, aren't they? What do they say? Oh, that's our people's legend about the creation of the world. As he stood, he picked up Dream with him, coming to sit next to Nightmare in front of the tapestry. Long ago, there was a world of nothingness and a world of everythingness. Because one contained everything and the other contained nothing, there could be no time and no life. But one day, everything began to flow into the nothing, and where it entered, the tree grew. From the tree's roots, it created all the souls in the world and gave life to them. And from its branches, it grew two fruits, the golden and the dark. The golden apples give warm and happy feelings to any who ate them, and the dark gives cold and terrible feelings. These fruits are formed from all the emotions of living souls and is a gift to our people, the Fae. Dream and Nightmare both stared at the tapestry, the sound of the rain filling Nightmare's skull, only interrupted as Toriel put a heavy pot over the fire grill. The white behind the tree, the white sea. What is that? Nightmare inquired. That's the everythingness, but you must never go there. Anyone who steps into the white disappears forever. It's a good thing neither of you wandered into it. And what about humans? Why doesn't the tapestry mention them? Oh, well, honestly, I'm not sure. The humans have different beliefs about the tree than we do, but we respect each other by sharing the tree with them. Are there many more words? I want to be able to read the words like you can. Asgore laughed. You want to learn to read. Toriel, look here, an eager student. Weren't you always wanting to be a teacher? Toriel hummed as she grabbed several plates. Oh, I still plan to be, no doubt about it. Would you like me to teach you to read, Nightmare? Me too! I want to learn to read too, said Dream, scooting off Asgore's lap to tuck himself next to his brother again. Tomorrow's the perfect day, then. It'll be too muddy to play outside. Your lessons will begin in the morning. Oh, and the snail pie will be ready in a few minutes. Having their fill of another hearty meal, the brothers were back asleep, wrapped in each other's arms. The rain outside grew softer, but continued to pour. From the thatched roof, a single drop wove its way through the packed grass and vines. It hit Nightmare's head, but he didn't wake. In his dreams, a static grew, louder and louder, till it was the only thing he could perceive. Eventually, he became aware that he was surrounded by it, the stinging little pops all over his body. Then he saw that face again, that white face with the twitching eye. Nightmare. Pulling his hands close, feeling where they were in space, he started to swing wildly. He tried to grab something, anything to move away, but the face came closer, repeating his name, over and over and over. When he screamed, it was also part of the static, until the creature was looming over him again, picking him up from the ground. Finally, his voice cracked through the static, which became the rain again. Nightmare! Nightmare, wake up! Came Toriel's voice. Nightmare, wake up! Said Dream. Gasping, his sockets shot wide. He realized he was being cradled by Toriel, her white face slowly coming through the darkness. You were having, well, a nightmare. You're safe. Take a deep breath, she hushed gently. Deep breath. Several deep breaths, too quickly. Nightmare felt his body pounding in panic, but he knew he was safe. He didn't need to run from here. So he just started to cry. Oh dear, Toriel said, gently setting him back down. Nightmare, Don't cry. If you cry, I'm gonna cry too, said Dream before wrapping his arms around him. Both of them would cry until Nightmare finally caught his breath, falling back asleep before Toriel could inquire if he was all right. In the morning, the rain finally stopped. Nightmare woke to the call of a rooster, a little startled, for he didn't know what it was. Toriel and Asgore were still asleep, bundled up in their cot against the adjacent wall. Dream was also still in his dreams, which seemed more pleasant than Nightmare's by the look on his face. So Nightmare just sat and waited. A strange growl escaped the center of his body, which confused him, but seemed to signal that he was hungry. The sound instinctively triggered Toriel awake. She made a big stretch, a toothy yawn, and shook Asgore's shoulder as she got up. Through her daze, she smiled at Nightmare. "Good morning, my dear. Are you hungry?" Nightmare hung his head slightly. "I'm sorry. Did I wake you up?" No, don't worry about that. How are you feeling? You had a terrible nightmare last night. Was thrashing about. You smacked Dream awake, too." "I did?" Nightmare blinked, looking back to his brother. He hated the idea that he might have hurt Dream without knowing, but with a pleasant smile on the boy's face, he didn't seem to mind. "I'm sure he'll wake up soon, once I get cooking," she said with a cheeky wink. Sure enough, as the smell of butter, bacon, and eggs filled the air, Dream would wake with a yawn. Asgore, too, finally rolling his mountainous goat body off the cot. After eating breakfast, Asgore told them of a villager who protected many tomes full of their language. He would retrieve some for the boys to study before going to meet the elders again. While Asgore was out, Toriel showed the twins how to clean their dishes and put them away, and how to sweep around the fire pit. She gave them a spare basket to put their toys in so they could keep their belongings together. With a fresh pile of books, blank paper, ink, and quills, Toriel would teach them the alphabet. Nightmare had absolute attention on his teacher, absorbing everything she said and practiced writing the letters several times. Dream less so. He drew up the alphabet once, decided he'd gotten well enough, and began to skim the books for colorful pictures. This didn't bother Toriel in the slightest. She seemed confident to manage both of the boys' learning styles at the same time. Dream seemed very motivated by anything that sounded like a fun story or whimsical things in far-off places. Meanwhile, Nightmare was more analytical, digging deeper into the tiniest details and far more present in the now. Either way, both boys were ravenous to learn anything they could. They picked up every book by the end of the night, learning at least one new thing from each. Dream was still trying to remember the names of all the letters, but by the end of the day, Nightmare was recognizing 3-letter words. "That's fantastic!" Asgore cheered as he joined them for dinner. "It seems that both of you are little geniuses, too." Dream giggled and pointed at Nightmare. "No, Nightmare is smarter than me." Toriel smiled. "That's not true, dear. You both learn in different ways. Nightmare might already be on 3-letter words, but I bet he doesn't remember the names of the closest settlements to us." Nightmare blinked. Well, he really wasn't paying attention to that part. He wasn't sure if he was supposed to. His jaw went slack, trying to remember anything. "Oh, there's Tim Village, and the Swelterstone Mines, and the Wild East, and the Honeydew Lodge, and..." Dream went on, counting the names on his fingers. Yes, I think we get it," Asgore chuckled. "I guess I'm pretty smart too," said Dream, grabbing his feet as he rocked gently back and forth. Just then, Gerson pushed past the curtained doorway, but unlike before, the turtle monster wore heavy metal armor, his expression stone cold. "Your Highness, pardon the interruption, but some of the scouts spotted a platoon of humans on their way, counted at least 12 of them." Nightmare felt Asgore's heart spike, his blood pounding through his limbs. "What? They weren't supposed to come yet? We were to arrange..." "Oh, never mind. Summon the reserve guard. We can't be sure they have the best intentions." Gerson nodded, ducking out. Getting up, Asgore rushed to one of the chests beside his cot and pulled out his nicer robes, grumbling in frustration. "Let me help you," said Toriel, also getting up to help Asgore with his appearance. The both of them started muttering to each other about the humans, wondering why they were arriving so soon. Dream looked to Nightmare with worry. They both felt monsters weren't safe around humans. Neither even knew what a human looked like. Stay here with the boys. I'll go out to meet them and see what they want, said Asgore. Well, obviously they've come to see them, haven't they? Toriel asked. Can't be sure yet, but if they are, just make sure they're ready if I call. With that, Asgore took his wife's shoulders, kissing each side of her snout before their noses touched, then headed out. Toriel stood quietly for a long moment, staring at the swaying fabric of the doorway. Finally, she turned to look at them, putting on a fake smile. You two should finish your meal. Are we going to meet the humans? Dream asked. Maybe, she said, distracting herself with cleaning up Asgore's dish. The twins would cuddle back up in their blanket nest, but neither felt they could sleep. Commotion shifted about outside. Toriel lingered by the doorway, pacing. Nightmare could see her eyes fixed to the ground. Was she feeling guilty? Had she given her trust too easily by wanting to tell the humans about them? At least that's what Nightmare wondered if she thought, sensing how her soul quivered. Toriel took a peek outside, setting her jaw. She stood, frozen, the warm light of several torches glowing off her face. The curtain parted as Asgore stepped inside, taking a deep breath. They want to see them. Dream? Nightmare? Nightmare felt Dream's grip around him tighten. Both of them stared at the tall goat monster, his face crestfallen. Come along, please. They were both scared. They sensed that these humans might not be as kind as the monsters. But under the pressure of Asgore and Toriel's gaze, the twins stood up. Nightmare felt his knees shaking, but tried to hide it. Hand in hand, they went to Asgore, who put a hand to Dream's back. I'm going out there too. They shouldn't be alone, said Toriel, shaking her head. Tori, you should probably... I'm coming out too, she said, before grabbing Nightmare's hand. He was glad for it. It made him feel a little safer that Toriel would be near.